Conventional high-wing trainers like this little foamy guy are all well and good for old fogies like me, but if you're trying to get a youngster interested in the hobby, you're going to need something with a little bit more of a wow factor. Wow! This little guy is a replica of the Diamond DA62 twin prop passenger plane, up to 6 to 8 passengers in the real world. I really like the sort of shark-like shape to it. It has a slightly unconventional T-tail arrangement. And of course the sexy upswept wingtips. I think it looks really smart indeed. If it flies anything like it looks, we'll be in good shape. First of all though, there's some assembly to do. This is great too for any youngsters joining the hobby, as it at least gives them a little introduction into gluing things together and general assembly. It's not too much to do. Let's get on and see. Here's what we get in the box then. The instructions are very basic, which is one of the reasons for making the video. If you haven't assembled something like this before, there may be a few challenges. We shall find out. In the top part of the box then, we have the main fuselage. You can see there the brains of the outfit and one of the batteries. That clearly will need to be glued in place. A standard battery connector, so I've got a zillion of those batteries already. Aside from that, we have clearly the tailplane and the tail section, and the two wing sections with their rather fetching wingtip section there. I really like that. Flipping the box over then, a very basic looking transmitter, a USB charger for the battery. This is all very well taped in place for shipping. And there then we have the two nacelles for the motors and a bag of bits here which we'll take a closer look at. Clearly it has the motors and the propellers and a screwdriver, but there's no glue provided. Thankfully though, I as always have a tube of my foam glue of choice, the Yoo-Hoo Pour. Let's take a closer look at the bits in the bags. Here then the contents of the main bag. The two motors then pre-wired. One has a red connector and the other white, which corresponds with connections on the boards there for the motors. And I'm pleased to see that the red one is left, or port. Is there any red port left? The convention being that left and right is always described as if you were sitting in the cockpit. So this is the left wing and the right wing. We'll see if that holds true. Rather nice little chromed propeller boss there. Also in the bag, spare propellers and this mysterious object, which is not referred to, but is in the case of having to change the propeller, it's for sliding under there and pushing that off. Noting that there are clockwise and counterclockwise propellers. They're not identified, I can't see any stamps on them, but it's fairly clear from when you hold them up together which one is the correct one to change. Some rudimentary landing gear there, a bunch of little screws and some decals. That's all that's in that bag. The other bag then contains some rather nice, these are actually plastic injection molded nacelles for the motors. Clearly this is what the screws are for. And this mystery object, which we'll find out the purpose of. The nacelles then will go together like that and also help to hold the wing in place. Let's move on now then and look at the suggested assembly steps. The first step then is to glue the wing sections on. Glue the wing to a quasi-stick. No idea what that translation is supposed to mean. However, what I will do, you can see here where it's been painted What I've done on this side is just with a little piece of glass paper, you don't need to go too mad here, is just to take some of the paint off there such that the glue will stick more readily. And it's the same for the rest of the parts outlined here. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'll get on and glue the thing together and only point out if there's anything in the instructions which needs clarification. Pay attention when fitting the motors and the nacelles. The nacelles are different shapes for each side with the cutout there, so they will only fit on one wing, like so. The motor itself just simply slots in there, and don't forget to route the cable up and over. That is just held in place there by the screws. Fitting the motor connections to the board is a bit of a challenge. The connections are right up the top of the board there. I suggest using a pair of tweezers. By the way, these two blue connections are apparently for lights, which I guess are an option. You can see the two holes for the pins are nearer to one side of the connector than the other. That connects in there, like that. And there are the two motor connections in place. The construction is complete now, nothing really to be concerned about. It's a nice looking little craft. We'll see how it flies now. Basic transmitter, all we have is left and right, which is differential thrust on the propellers, and the throttle controls the height. We have dual rates on here. I shall be trying it in high rate mode. I suggest if you're a complete beginner, maybe find a space with a few less obstructions than here, and start off in low rate mode. Let's see how we get on. To start then, we'll turn the transmitter on, throttle down, turn on the plane, and then put it on the ground. Doing that before arming it, because I think that when you arm it, it will also set the gyro, so it's important for the plane to be on the ground. So up and down, solid light, and I'll hit the rates. Now have a blinking light to show that it's on rates, and we have some movement on the motors. It's pretty rough here, but we'll see if we can take off. And she's away. Even on high rates it's a bit of a challenge to turn. Let's see if it prefers to turn. Turning left there. Let's try and bring her down. Keep away from the trees. And to the right. Seems to turn. Whoa, no, not in the tree. Whoa, that was lucky. That tree is the bane of my life. Well, time to test the crash resistance. As you can probably hear on the microphone, it is a little breezy today. That gyro keeping it in check, I think. Of course, there's no elevator, so you just have to gun it and pray. Yeah, very nice. Well, I think a beginner like myself would be very pleased with this little guy. Yeah, it does look pretty in the air as well, especially against our lovely blue sky here. Wind giving it a little bit of a challenge there. Doesn't exactly glide, but whoa, into the shrubbery. Even in the prickly bush that it hit there, no damage to the EPP foam. Let's try a hand launch this time. A little bit of up, full throttle. Yeah, it goes quite quickly on full chunt, if that's a word. Again, only a little 300 milliampere battery in here, but oh, lost her in the sun. Oh, there she is. Yeah, very happy with this little guy. Not expensive, and I think for a youngster, or a youngster of any age, keep out the tree. Come around, that's it. Come back to daddy. Spiralling down there, deliberately, I might add, or flexing the wings a little. Yeah, it looks really nice in the air, I think. And surprisingly, well, I guess due to the gyro more than my efforts, quite controllable. Attacked by the bird there. It can put on a turn of speed when it needs to, and well, we saw it bounce there a few times. Oh, you've got to love this EPP foam. I should have mentioned that I haven't glued the T-tail in place. When I wrap up this video, I'll show you the instructions. The instructions for this contain suggestions for adjusting the angle of the T-tail according to your altitude. I'm here about 450 meters, and all I've done is to press fit the tail on, and it seems to be flying very well. I wouldn't really worry about that adjustment personally. I think we're getting a bit slow now. Again, just a little 300 milliampere battery. I think I will try it on a 500. Yeah, it's definitely getting a bit more sluggish now. I think it's time, before we end up in the tree, to land. Well, I'm sure I could do a better landing than that. But I'm going to call it a day on that battery. Well, for a maiden flight, I think that was very successful. I think very pleased with the performance of this little guy. We'll just pop back to the workshop now. I'll give you my parting thoughts. This is the page in the instructions that refers to changing the angle of the T-tail according to height above sea level. I've never seen anything like this before, particularly like the notice for reference, the actual events shall prevail. Well, it prevailed today, despite managing to crash it, I think 4 times. There is hardly a mark on it. It lives certainly to fly many more days. Nothing more to say then. Excellent value. I believe it's under €30. Links down in the description as always. Many thanks for watching.